balanced most of the times. There may be some external factors, right? And there may be some internal factors. So external factors like our any other, our colleague or any of our family member, right? Through which we are getting some trouble or something like पापा कह रहे हैं पढ़ाई करो, मुझे पढ़ाई नहीं करनी है ना. So I want to play. So something like external things. And internal is, what is the main factor for the internal is our mind, right? So external is actually, if we see, it is because of our external senses, right? We have 5 senses. What are 5 senses?
Skin, eyes,
Ears, tongue, skin, eyes, ears, nose, and touch, right? So these are our 5 external gross senses. And if we see that whenever the external troubles comes, it comes through our senses only. We can perceive the troubles through our senses. And in last session, we have heard, the chariot, we're going to cover that. So we have seen that senses are overpowered by mind most of the times, right? How you can understand? What is the example? That senses are overpowered by mind. So suppose you have gone to a restaurant, your favorite restaurant, right? Because you want to eat nice. And you ordered very nice dish for yourself. It is in front of you, right? And you are going to eat your favorite dish. And immediately your phone rings. You may be a student or you are a working professional. You got a call from your boss or your friend. If you are a student, your friend told that the result has declared and you are fail. Or boss has called and that you have not got promotion. So what will happen? Immediately the food which is in front of you become tasteless, right? Because your mind is disturbed. I got failed. I have not got promotion working one year, 2 years so hard, right? So before just 5 minutes back, that food which is in front of me was giving me so much appetite. And now after this news, because my mind so got disturbed, I don't like this food now, right? I was thinking now that problem, that what will happen to me next, right? So if you see, the food is actually, it is for which sense? Tongue, right? Taste. It will give me a taste. So it is for external sense. And similarly, like there are other things like song or anything which is for ear or any other thing, right? So through this we can understand that if mind is in trouble, then we don't, whatever the external things are there, we don't bother about that. And that is the reason we have to understand that if we control our mind, then external botherations will also automatically will get controlled. So that is the reason the agenda for today is mind only, right? So we have to understand that how I can do this mind control. And you have many sessions. If you search on YouTube, many organizations, they give this art of mind control, right? But here we are going to understand what Bhagavad Gita says about it, what Lord Krishna says about it, how we can control our mind, what is a mind, right? Why every time we hear mind, right? So we'll understand, we'll go to this, what is the nature of our mind, right? And how does a mind function? We'll not go to the biological process, how brain functions, because brain and mind are two different things. Brain is a physical thing, mind is a subtle thing, right? Like we have 5 gross elements through which our body has made. What are those 5 elements? Earth, air, water, fire, and ether or space, right? So these are the gross substance. So we know about this gross substance, but we don't know what are the subtle substance through which our body is also made. They are mind, intelligence, and false ego. And these subtle substance are higher than the gross substance, right? So we'll understand that how mind function, because it's a subtle entity, how it function, and then what is the solution, how we can control it, and ultimately what is the practical way for that. Because Bhagavad Gita, there are so many shlokas, but how I can practically apply this in my life so that I can control my mind. And remember, it's not a very easy job to control our mind. Okay? So now we'll begin with what is the nature of our mind. What is written here? Mind, the most powerful material element. Material element. Very, very important to understand that it is a material. Although it is a subtle, but it is a material element. Why it is material element? Because it can be impacted by external things also, like lust, greed, anger. So all these things can conquer the mind. And if you know the yogis, they give up all those things. That means these are material things. So we'll understand in the shloka in Bhagavad Gita which speaks about this. So you can repeat after me. Mamaevansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manashasthani indriyani prakrti sthani karshati. Anybody would like to read the translation?
The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditional life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Bhagavad Gita 15.7.
Yeah. So Krishna is saying here, Mame Vansho Jivaloke. This living entity, my eternal fragmental part, right? And in this conditioned world, what is conditioned world? Conditioned world means when we come in this world with this body, we have so many conditions, right? Suppose one condition is you cannot breathe directly in the water. You have only breathe in land, right? You cannot go so high if you without any suit or anything, right? You can only stay at this level in the earth, right? Or there are so many conditions in the nature that we cannot do. That is the reason when we come in this one, we are in conditioned life. Only particular state only we can live. We are not free. People say that I am free, I can go anywhere. But to go anywhere, we need so many things, so many suits or so many things, right? And they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So five senses we already discussed, right? What is the six senses? Here Krishna is saying mind. And they are struggling very hard. So last time we discussed about a story where in each animal there are very prominent senses. Suppose like we see bees, right? Bee is very fond of having a very nice fragrance, right? That is the reason they go from this flower to that flower, right? And sometime when they go to some flower, which is carnivorous flowers also, right? Pitcher plant or so many plants are there, right? And they go there for the nectar and they get dyes, right? And like this, deer also very attracted to the sound. And hunter with that sound only catches the deer, right? So different animal has their different senses which are very, very powerful. But human being have all the senses very, very powerful. So what will happen to human? It's very difficult if they cannot control their senses, right? So that is the reason they are struggling very hard with the mind. And on top of we have one coupon also, which is mind, right? This free coupon is giving us so many trouble, right? So we have to understand that. So when you go to the mall to buy a certain thing, like I will go mall only to buy one soap. Will it happen that you will come back only with one soap? No? When you go to the mall, oh, this is also there, this is also there, let me take this, let me take that, right? Why? Why it is happening? Because our mind dictates. Take this, take that, this is also good, this is also good, right? So we have to understand that our mind, when it is restless, it will not see what is the use of that thing. It will simply check, I want this, right? So we'll understand that also. So let me show you one video, how mind drives us very crazy. Right? So what is happening here? So this child is actually considered as a mind, right? So mind just want the things. I want this, I want this, I want this. Somehow you get it, right? So it doesn't distinguish. So there are three functions of mind: feeling, willing, and accepting, right? So this, through this diagram we can easily understand. We have like shown this diagram many times. So how the mind starts the fall down, how fall down starts for a person? It starts from the sense object, right? And when we contemplate on sense object, then what happens? Attachment develops, and from attachment, when attachment increases, that means we get the lust. We want that, and when lust is unfulfilled, it converts into anger, and anger through bewilderment of mind, and then intelligence is lost, and then wrong actions, right? So it is very important to understand that it starts from the sense object. So when sense objects are there, then it's very difficult to control, and that is the only point where we can control ourselves. So now, what is mind? So this is very important shloka. You can repeat after me. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna Pramathi balvadradam Tasyaham nigramamnye Vayurevya sudushkaram. Translation, anybody like to read?
The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
So Arjuna is speaking to Krishna that what is this mind is. So if we see that it's very like what Arjuna is saying, we are also feeling the same thing, right? It is restless, very turbulent, right? And obstinate, mujhe chahiye, I want this, and very strong, right? And Arjuna is saying that to controlling the mind, it is more difficult even controlling a wind. Arjuna was a great archer, right? He has all kind of vidya, and through that vidya he can even control the wind. But here it's saying that it is even more difficult to control the mind in controlling the wind. So we can understand that even for like Arjuna, which is a great devotee of Lord Krishna, where he was speaking with Krishna face to face, he was also feeling the same, that it is very, very difficult. Then what to speak about us 5,000 years and now in very auspicious age, Kali Yuga, right? So Kali Yuga, in this age, we have come, and so how we can feel it, it is even more difficult, right? So now, What does this fickle mind want from us? Very important to understand, right? Because we just saw that when we go somewhere, mind will say this, that, right? So what mind wants? Any answers to this?
Mind wants to control us.
Control on us, okay. So ultimately, if we see, mind always want happiness, right? It also always want to enjoy. How I can enjoy, right? It doesn't matter if that whatever act I am doing is wrong or right. He wants enjoyment, right? Like a child always want, a small child want to play, right? But if father or mother comes, they teaches that don't do this, then only sometime child stops. Sometime, not most of the time, right? So this is the nature of the mind. He always want happiness. He always want to have some good things, and that is the reason our this miserable situation starts, right? So then why then mind drives us crazy? If he wants enjoyment, happiness is good, right? Happiness is, that is all, because in first session we heard that everybody is looking for happiness, right? Then what is why we are like, mind is driving us so crazy if it is looking for happiness? It's never ending. Okay, yeah. Not satisfactory, not satisfying us. So what is this? Looking for right thing. Happiness is right, but we are looking at wrong place. So what Mataji told also, it's not satisfactory, right? So very common example of this, we have heard mirage, right? That when we go to the desert, you will see that there is a water, but when you go that place, there is no water, right? So actually we are looking for right thing, water, but in a wrong place, desert. So similarly, mind is also searching for right thing, happiness, but in a wrong place where everything is temporary, not permanent, right? So that is the most unfortunate thing. And this is how mind helps many times. An elder brother is trying to give medicine to younger brother without knowing, right? So many times if we take any medicine randomly, sometime what happens? Side effects, right? If it is not meant for that disease. So similarly, mind is also trying to give us different kind of happiness, bombarding so many happiness, and in which the mind doesn't know that this happiness is good for us or not. Suppose a child want to watch a movie, summer vacations are coming, now child want to watch a movie for day and night, right? It's very enjoying. Then what will happen if they watch day and night? Eyes, right? Then they will get some specs, right? So it is not good for eyes if they watch it for a long time, right? But they want enjoyment, but in a wrong place, right? So similarly, mind is also want to give us different kind of enjoyment, but in a not in a proper way. What is good for me, what is bad for me, the mind doesn't know that. And what is the idea for mind to enjoy is accumulation, right? We want to accumulate so many things, right? This thing, that thing, I want a car, I want a mobile phone, I want this, I want that, right? And then exploitation, right? Many times, like in corporates, people exploit their subordinates, right? And many times, like even I heard like somebody sometime I told that you go to home, bring my clothes, like, so they exploit people for their enjoyment, right? So this is also thing. And then needs of the senses, right? I want to watch this thing, I want to smell, I want to hear nice sound, so many things. And then fame also, I want to very famous, and then association with the opposite gender, right? So these are the different ideas for the mind to get happiness, right? But if we know this, that our goals, the goals which mind has set are wrong actually. How? If we know this, we want to make money. Everybody wants to make money, right? I want to become like that person, right? I want to achieve that thing, or I want to buy that product, right? So why it is happening? Why this is happening? Because people are telling us many times, like children, when they see some ad, they will tell father that, father, this is very good, I want this thing, because externals are happening. But if you know this, what is wrong in doing all these things? Making money is good because I want to maintain my family. Then what is wrong? Becoming that, I want to become a very good sports person or an actor or very nice scientist like that. What is wrong in that? Or I want to achieve that, right? Or I want to buy this product, I want to buy a car for my like convenience. What is wrong in that? What is wrong in that? It's good, no?
Whether you can achieve or not, that is all depend on that. Example, why do you think I want to buy a helicopter?
Uh-huh.
Why to think only?
Okay. So why to think on that? Any other thoughts? This is very, very important, which is Krishna is going to tell in the next shloka. So you can also repeat after me. Ye hi sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yoneya evate आद्यंतवंत कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा. Translation, anybody would like to read?
An intelligent person does not take part in the success of sleep, which are due to contact with the material sense. O son of Kunti, such pleasure have a beginning and no an end. And so the wise man does not delight in them. Bhagavad Gita 5.22.
So Krishna here is saying that even if you want to achieve something or you want to gain something in your life, there is a beginning for that and there is an end for that, right? Because all the things are material in nature, and material in nature, that means which will create it like and stays for some time and then destructed. This is how the even for desk also it has created for some time, right? It will stay for some time and then after some time it will get destructed, right? So it happens for any of the matter in this world. So if that thing has a beginning and end, that means when that thing will get end, I have to cry for that thing, or I have to buy again new thing, right? So in this, my whole life will go on. Either I have to buy, keep on buying, or when that thing goes away, I have to cry for that, right? So that is the reason Krishna says a person, a wise man, Ramate Buddha. Buddha means a wise person. So a wise man will not delight in them. They will not take interest in those things because they know that these things are temporary in nature. So even if you want to achieve all these things, they are temporary in nature. Although you achieve it, you can use it, but at the same time, we have to perform the art of detachment, right? Although they are with me, but I am not so much attached with them. So that we'll understand that how we can do that, right? So now comes to how does this mind functions. Mind is a subtle body, right? So Facebook. So mind basically functions likes and dislikes, right? This is the most like basic understanding that how mind functions. If somebody likes me or my thoughts, then he is a good person. If somebody doesn't like my thoughts or my thing, then you go your own way, right? So this is basically what the function of mind, right? And that is the reason mind always in a pendulum of bhog and tyag. Sometime he likes something, and then suppose a movie you watch one time, your favorite movie, second time, third time, fourth time, then after 10 time you'll say no, I don't want to watch, right? So first you want to bhog, अच्छी लग रही है ना, I want to see, and then after some time when we have sufficient enjoyment for that thing, tyag, no, I don't want, right? So this is the pendulum in which mind is always there, and because of this mind is always in distress, because now what next I want, you know? So he's always searching for next, and that is the reason thinking, feeling and willing are the three main things that mind does. He thinks, he feels, or he willing, right? Now what is the solution? How I can control this mind? Very important subject matter. So Krishna starts with very important shloka. You can also repeat after me. Indriyani pararharyo Indriyebhya paramana Manasastu parar buddhir Buddhe paratastu saha. Translation? Anybody would like to read?
The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul is even higher than the intelligence. Bhagavad Gita 3.42.
So here the hierarchy is given, right? Who is clerk, who is boss, who is director, who is CEO, right? Like this. So here, if you see, the working senses are superior to dull matter. Dull matter like this table, right? Because if you break this table will not feel any pain, right? But our senses, like suppose skin, if just one cut will feel the pain, right? That is the reason senses are superior than dull matter. But then mind is higher than the senses, Krishna is saying. Then who is the more higher than senses is mind. And then intelligence is still higher than the mind. And then comes buddhi, intelligence. And higher than the intelligence is the soul, atma, saha. So Krishna is saying saha means he. So here we know that this is the hierarchy. Now in hierarchy, where the mind comes, if you see this picture we have shown many times, right? So these horses are compared to the senses, and these ropes is compared to the mind, and then the chariot driver here is the buddhi, and then the passenger is soul, atma, right? So here if you see, the horses are controlled by the ropes, right? So if rope, who is controlling these ropes? The driver, which is intelligence, right? So we have to understand, this driver should be powerful enough to control these ropes, which in turn controlling these horses, right? So ultimately our focus is, we have to make our intelligence very powerful, more powerful than the mind. So many times this story comes, good dog and bad dog, right? So suppose one dog is barking, bad dog is barking, and good dog is also barking. So in these two dogs which are barking, which dog will win? What is your answer? Huh? How?
I'm telling, according to me, maybe after some time that good dog will think, I am necessarily barking, no use of that.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay. When there's a debate happens, many times in news we have seen, right? Debates are happening. So in that debate, who wins usually? Huh? The person who is louder, right? So even similarly, when this mind and intelligence, mind is saying to intelligence, I want this, intelligence saying to mind, don't do this. These two, many times these two inner voices are coming always, right? When we are doing something, many times, नहीं ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए ना, or do this, don't do this, right? So these two things are between mind and intelligence actually. And the person who is more louder, if mind is more louder than intelligence, then he will overcome the intelligence and he will do whatever the mind wants, right? And if intelligence is more powerful than mind, then he will overcome the mind, right? So that is the reason our intelligence has to be very, very strong, very, very sharp, so that it will cut the thoughts of the mind. That we have to understand, right? So, and that is the reason this shloka comes in Bhagavad Gita. Mind is both friend and enemy. What is this shloka? Bhagavad Gita 6.6. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. How many of you have heard this before? Okay? है ना? So mind can be our greatest friend or greatest enemy, but the thing is the one who has controlled it, right? So like suppose example is given here is a knife. A knife in the hand of a surgeon and the same knife in the hand of a thief. Difference, right? One can take the life and one can save the life, right? And similarly keys also. If the key is in the hand of a master or the owner of the house and the key in the hand of a thief, right? Both the things are same, right? So similarly, mind which is same, but it can be our greatest enemy also or can be friend also, depending on whether like we have conquered or not, right? So now quiz time. Just now we have seen that picture, chariot. So driver, who is the driver?
Intelligence.
Intelligence or mind? Intelligence, right? What is the rein? Ropes? Mind. Passenger? Soul or body? Okay. Chariot? And horses? Senses, right? So this we have to always remember, very important. So if you see this, these are examples are very practically given in Bhagavad Gita, which even our children can understand. It's not very tough, very difficult to understand. But since we are not seeing our scriptures, we see that what is the use of reading all these scriptures, right? But it is very simple to understand everything, right? So now, how to control my mind? The thing is, tell the mind strongly that you are not the master. But just telling it's simple? No. Right? It's not very simple. If you know that there are two ways we can control the mind. Either ignore the mind or engage the mind in some constructive or positive things. Only these two things can happen. Right? So like if you have seen circus. How many of you went to circus before? Right? In circus, like there is a master, right? Ring master. How he like dances all the wild animals. You know how they capture wild animal? They just capture, and when they brought to the circus, they don't give them any kind of food for weeks, even for months. They don't feed them. Because if they feed these animals, then these animals will grow and then they will become strong and they will not listen. So these ringmaster, what they do is they don't give anything to them and they become weak and then they finally, these animals, even the wild animals, they think that okay, I will do whatever you want, but give me the food, right? So this is how we have to control the mind. We have to tell them that you are not the master. And how we have to tell them? Through our intelligence. We have to make our intelligence very sharp. How to make our intelligence very sharp, we're going to cover that. But it is very, very important that we have to engage them in positive things. And if it is not possible, we have to ignore them. Like a child, many times, I have seen practically also, when child cries in a house, if nobody is looking at child, then after some time he stops, right? They will stop and then they will say, okay, Papa, what I have to do? Tell me, right? So we have to ignore the mind also, but ignoring also it's very difficult because our senses, our intelligence is not strong, right? So that we have to understand. And to make our intelligence strong is to read the scriptures, to read our shastras, like how we are hearing all these things, right? We, through very systematic study, Krishna is telling Arjuna that how you can control the mind, who is superior than the mind, right? So when we read scriptures, our intelligence will become stronger and stronger and stronger, right? Anybody would like to read this very powerful statement?
How to control the mind. Our scientific power has outrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles and misguided men. Martin Luther King.
Right? So now we have all the guided missiles, है ना? यहाँ से छोड़ो रशिया पे, है ना? रशिया से छोड़ो अमेरिका में, right? All the guided missiles are there. But who are controlling those missiles is misguided people, right? They are just looking for this land or that land. I want this land, I want to conquer that land, right? So, because of this misguided, mind is currently misguided. Whatever he wants, he will take. I want this, I want that. But we have to guide our mind through our intelligence. And that is the reason it is very, very important that we have to regulate our activities. The first thing comes is regulate our activities, right? What is regulation is? What do you mean by regulation? Doing the same thing, same time again and again, right? Suppose people do meditation, right? When people do meditation every day, then you will feel the difference, right? How they were previous and how they are now, right? Because they are doing same time again, same thing again and again at the same time. And if we do bad thing again and again same time, then we'll see what is the difference in us before and after, right? So it is very, very important that we have to regulate what we are doing in our life, first thing. And how to do that? Krishna is giving very important thing, that why regulation is very, very important. So you can also repeat after me this shloka. Nastya asnastu yogosti na chaikanta manashrata na chati swapna shilasya jagrato neva arjuna. Okay, translation. Anybody would like to read?
There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too less, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Bhagavad Gita 6.16.
So very important, very easy to understand. If a person eats too much or too less, or sleeps too much or too less, it's very, very difficult for them to regulate any activity in their life. This is the first thing which starts. If you see the students also who want to get a very good marks in their exams, you see they sleep only whatever is required for them. They start they read their books, right? Or a person who wants to maintain their body very nicely, you'll see that they will take a very balanced eating, right? Not too much, not too less. If we eat too much, we'll feel sleepy, tired, we'll feel very much tired. And if tiredness is there, then we'll not able to work, or we'll keep on procrastinating many things if we are tired, right? And that is the reason, not too much or too less. If we eat too less, we'll feel very weak. Then again, we'll keep not doing things on their regular time, right? So this is very, very important aspect in our life, that if you want to regulate, controlling our mind starts when we have to balance our eating and sleeping activity. This is very, very important. And then this very important shloka, even when you go to any yoga center, most of the time they will speak about this shloka. Okay, so we'll go through this shloka. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu yukta sapna vabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Translation.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all the material pain by practicing the yoga system. Bhagavad Gita 6.17.
So Krishna is, you see, these are very, very simple thing, right? Any child, any teacher can also tell this thing. But here who is telling? Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, telling to Arjuna, this is very small thing. If Lord is saying something, we have to understand that is not a small. Although it looks like a very small, but it has a very, very impact on our life, right? So here Krishna is saying that one who is regulated in eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all material pain by practicing the yoga system, right? So if you see the yogis, they do this thing, starts with this thing. If you know this Ashtanga Yoga, not so-called Ashtanga Yoga, but the proper Ashtanga Yoga which is mentioned in the scripture, what is the first process? Pranayam. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam. Yam, Niyam means do's and don'ts. First you have to do this thing, don't do this thing, right? And then in that, these things comes first. Eat as much as is required, not much, not less. Sleep as much as required, not much, not less, right? So these are the initial steps for the yoga also, and that is the reason Krishna is speaking this in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is Dhyan Yoga, where Krishna is telling Arjuna like what a yogi starts, how a yogi starts his yoga. And so here Krishna is first telling Arjuna that we have to be regulated in all these activities. So when we are regulated, then automatically this impacts our subtle body also, right? So now, finally Krishna is saying how we can control our mind. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Ashanshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha grihate. Translation.
Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it's undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Bhagavad Gita 6.35.
So see, Krishna is also accepting this thing, right? So Krishna is our favor, right? Krishna is saying that I know it's very difficult. Lord is also saying, when Lord is saying, that means it's not an ordinary thing. But what Lord is giving the solution is by suitable practice and detachment. Two things. We have to practice and follow the detachment also. So suppose yoga practice, if we see, it's not possible for everybody. The yoga which Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita, what kind of yoga? That a person has to go to the forest, sit on an asan which is not too high, not too low, right? And then close his eyes and then bring the live air in the middle of the eyes and then focus on that air. How many of us able to do this activity by resigning our jobs and going to Himalayas? No, I am resigning from my job. No, na? So for a person like us, right, the modern age, modern people, it's very difficult to perform that yoga which Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6. Then what yoga I can perform, right? So that yoga which is very simply offered by Krishna for people of Kali Yuga is devotional service. So there are 9 types of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. Right? So Shravanam means hearing, Kirtanam means glorifying or chanting, then Vishnu Smaranam means remembering of the Lord. Right? So like this, these are the 9 process of devotional service which are given for every person. Prahlad Maharaj is saying in Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So if you see this, the process starts from hearing, Shravanam. Right? So if we just simply hear about the glories of the Lord or the pastimes of the Lord, immediately we will see that our mind is slowly and steadily getting in control. Why? Because mind is a material element, right? We have discussed in the beginning. And in the last session, we discussed that what are the sitting places of mind, like who comes and sits on the mind? Lust, anger, greed, pride, enviousness, all these are the sitting place for the mind. Right? So these things comes and sits on the mind. But when we engage in hearing about the Lord, all these things will not get any chance because the mind starts to get purified. Right? So when we are engaged in devotional service, then automatically we'll see after some time our mind, which was so much distracted, is aligned with the intelligence. And then it will help us in reaching the final goal of the life, which is to achieve Krishna Prem. Right? So how we can train our mind? Very practically. So we heard that chanting, reading and hearing about Krishna. Right? And when we do this, what will happen? The intelligence becomes very strong, transcendental. Because currently our intelligence is material, but that material intelligence also becomes transcendental because the intelligence is now engaged in thoughts of the Lord. And when intelligence is strong, then obviously it will control our mind, right? Then good dog will bark much louder, right? And then what will happen? When mind is very peaceful, then senses are automatically in our control. Because senses are lower than the mind, right? We have just learned. And then when senses are under control, that means it will be peaceful. And then when there is a peace, automatically happiness will be there. Right? So this is very, very important. This is like how this process starts is just by chanting, reading, hearing about the Lord. And that is the reason there are so many people in ISKCON, all over the world, they by the simply chanting of this holy name, they're able to control their mind. It's not very difficult process. We don't have to go to Himalayas and perform this Ashtanga Yoga. Right? And then, this is very important. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvanappi na lipyate. Okay. Anybody would like to read this?
One who walks in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Gita 5.
Yeah. So one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, it dear to everyone. So that is the reason when you go to a genuine sadhu, not so-called sadhus. If you go to genuine sadhu, automatically you will feel the attraction towards them, right? Because they are practicing this yoga. And that is the reason people people feel that this person is very dear to me, right? And that is the reason, and that person is also dear to everyone, and all the persons are also dear to him. And such a person is never entangled. Entangled means, like, again, I'm going to my work or any of my family, like business, anything. I will not get entangled in that activity. I will be simply detached, but at the same time, I am also controlling my mind. So, like, we can control our mind by doing some, like, with some activity also. Like, suppose I'm working in office, I'm writing some code, or I'm doing something, but at the same time, my mind is not disturbed. Shri Shri Gandharvika Girdhari Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Sundar ki jai, Lakshmi Narsingh Bhagwan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we will not get entangled in any activity that we are doing externally, because we know that I can control my mind, right? So now what is the practical tip that we can understand is, don't do drastic changes. Suppose, what is a drastic change? I will not feed my mind from today onwards. I will not listen my mind today. Then it's very difficult. Why? Because our intelligence is not on that level, right? So we have to make our intelligence also on that level so that we can control our mind, right? So don't do drastic changes immediately. And constant practice is required, right? Krishna also said that by suitable practice and detachment. So practice is also required. So, and what is the practice in the Kali Yuga is chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And then have a schedule. Yuktahar viharasya, right? We have understood that we have to regulate in our sleeping, right? Eating, recreation, work. So we have to follow a schedule. When we follow a schedule, then our mind will know, okay, now 8 o'clock, that means I have to go to office. 9 o'clock, that means I have to eat. Then mind will automatically come to that schedule, right? And then we have to see the progress also. How we'll understand progress? Whether I am feeling detachment from yesterday or not. Like, suppose what level of detachment today I am feeling. Tomorrow I wanted to eat this, my favorite dish. But now my mind is saying go to restaurant. Now I am not willing. I can resist myself. That means there is some progress is happening, because now I can resist that what mind is saying to me. So that is the progress. And then have a guide. Very important, because guide is very, very important, because many times our mind will swiftly take us to something, very swiftly. Even we don't understand, right? Suppose many times we were discussing something and some thought, and then we go to that direction, and then from that to that direction, right? So many times it happens, right? We are discussing on one topic, and then immediately from that topic some other topic comes, and then so it is very swiftly happens. We will not understand. So that is the reason we need a guide also to understand. And then read scriptures. When we read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, then we'll able to understand what is, like, we'll able to make our intelligence very, very strong. So that is the reason scriptures, to read scriptures is also very, very important, right? So if you follow this very simple thing, then you will see after some time that you are able to control your mind very, very easily, right? And then this process which is mentioned, that we just discussed, that chanting. Then why chanting? Because in the Kali Yuga it is mentioned that when we chant, then it is equal to performing a yajna of that yuga. So when we chant, then what happens? That all causes of disturbances of Kali Yuga will goes away. What are the disturbances of Kali Yuga? Hypocrisy and quarrel. These are the primary things. Everywhere we'll see quarrel, quarrel, quarrel and hypocrisy, right? So these things will go away when we chant the holy name of the Lord. So in next session, we are going to understand that am I in control or not. Like today we learned that how to control the mind, but I am in control or I am free, right? We always want freedom, right? But I am free or I am in control. So we'll understand in the next session. Any questions from today's session? How we can understand that mind, we can control the mind by suitable practice and detachment, right? So that if we follow that, then automatically we'll see that things will get like according to us. Not us means according to what is good for us, right? So tomorrow is a very auspicious day. So we are celebrating Gaur Purnima. Gaur Purnima is appearance day of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Lord Krishna himself, who has incarnated 500 years back. So tomorrow is the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we will be celebrating here in the evening time, 5 o'clock, Abhishekam, Aarti, and we'll hear about who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then we'll have a very nice prasadam also, everybody. So please come tomorrow, and we'll also have a holy festival with flowers, not with the colors. So we'll also have a flowerful Holi tomorrow. So please come and take part in that, right? Because appearance day of Lord is very, very powerful, right? Because when Lord appears, what happens? Which shloka? Bhagavad Gita, very famous shloka. Yada yada hi dharmasya. So I appears to annihilate the miscreants and to establish the religion, right? So tomorrow is very, very auspicious. So there are so many anarthas, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh in our heart, right? So tomorrow we'll know who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When we hear the glories, right, we just understand, right? Reading, hearing about the Lord. So it starts this process, devotion service, right? So please come tomorrow, 5 o'clock, same time. Any questions from today's session? Okay. Hare Krishna. So we'll move to the chanting. How many of you are coming for the first time? So we'll chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the beats today. So how to chant? So if you know, this is the beat. In this, there is a one top beat is there, which is known as Sumeru. Right? So on this beat, we'll chant this Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mantra on this first beat, and then on other beats we'll chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So like this, we'll go clockwise, downward, and we don't have to use this finger, right? Because this finger denotes what? Faults or false ego, right? Because this finger always used to point on the people, right? So we don't use this finger. That is the reason in any practice, any devotional practice, or in anywhere you go for puja, we don't use this finger. So like this, we have to use this finger, and then we have to chant clockwise. We have to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra on each beat, and then when we finish, that means the one round is completed. And when we are chanting, we have to simply hear the mantra. Just speak and hear, speak and hear. That is the only process, right? So when we do that, we'll able to cleanse our heart. That is the beginning of the process, right? So we'll start with on this. We'll chant this mantra, and we will chant in a sync also, so that everybody can follow. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम राम